ride home. Because before there is fruit, there must be roots. And the roots don't grow in the open, they grow in hidden places. They grow in pressure and stillness and in faith. You don't need a crowd to grow. That's why God allows the hidden seasons, the quiet seasons, the misunderstood seasons, because growth is not always loud. Growth is often low, but low doesn't mean weak. It means deep. And deep roots produce lasting fruits. Some of you have been asking this morning, God, where's my breakthrough? But God is answering back this morning, where are your roots? Before I can bless you publicly, I've got to build you up privately. Before you flourish, you must be formed. Before you rise, you must be refined. This is why James said in chapter 1, verse 4, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete. Not lacking anything. You don't get full fruit without full surrender. I know it feels like the dirt is crushing you this morning, and I know it feels like your prayers are hitting the ceiling. But remember this, the seed never sees the sun right away. The seed must trust the process. And I want you to know this morning, you got to go through the process too. Because when it feels like nothing is happening, God is working beneath the surface. He's putting out old attitudes, planting new strength, removing shallow habits, and stretching your faith. Growth isn't glamorous, but it's glorious. And the good news this morning is seeds don't stay under the ground forever. That kernel that dies, Jesus said it produces many seeds. In other words, what looked like a death was actually the beginning of multiplication. God is not just growing you for you, he's growing you for others. Come on, Jerome. We talk about that your transformation will be a seed for someone else's faith. Your growth will lead to someone else's freedom. So don't despise the dirt. Don't rush the rain. Don't walk away. Just remember, and just because you can't see the fruit yet, God is faithful to complete what he's begun. And if he planted you, he's preparing to raise you up. And so you got to stay planted. Somebody says stay planted. You got to stay faithful. Somebody says stay faithful. And look at somebody and say stay rooted. Stay rooted. Because the God who planted you is also the one who walks. The God who planted you is also the one who strengthens and brings the increase. You was planted to grow. You will not wither, you will rise. Somebody say, I will rise. I know sometimes you feel buried by life's demands and disappointments and delays. You feel like you are hidden in the dark, forgotten by God, and left to figure it out on your own. Anybody? But there's a powerful difference between being buried and being planted. When something is buried, it means it stay dead. But when something is planted, it's destined to grow. You are not buried, you are planted. And the darkness you feel isn't your grave. It's the soul preparing you for growth. Say that again. The darkness that you're feeling right now. It's not your grave. It's preparing you. It's the soul preparing you for growth. God does his best work in hidden places. He develops your character. He's deepening your root and strengthening your faith when no one else is watching. Hallelujah. Just because the world hasn't seen your fruit yet doesn't mean God has not been cultivating it. But brothers and sisters, growth happens in the hard places. It doesn't come without pressure, without discomfort, or without frown. A seed has to break before it blooms. In the same way, we are often broken, Deacon Durham, before we blossom. That breaking can come in many forms: a setback, a loss, a disappointment, or even a spiritual dry spell. And don't let the breaking convince you that you're being destroyed, that you're being overlooked. God is stretching you this morning. He's molding you, and he's preparing you for something you can't even imagine. The growing season is where spiritual maturity becomes real. Not because of what you see, but because of what you trust. But the enemy knows that if he can discourage you in the growing season, and if he can stop you from ever reaching your heart, that's why the temptation to quit is stronger. When you're closest to your breakthrough, your pressure increases, the noise gets louder, and the doubts start to creep in. But this is the moment when you respond the most. Will you wither or will you worship? Will you retreat or will you remain rooted? Will you walk away or will you wait on the Lord? Will you worship God this morning going back. You worship God when everybody coming back on you. You were made for shallow soil. You were destined to sprout up quickly and then fall apart when the sun gets hot. You was not destined for that.
Yeah.
You were made to endure. You were made to last. You were made to flourish in the fire and thrive in the tension. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Great is not your weakness. It's strengthening the sky and growing season teaches us how to wait, how to trust, and how to stay faithful." And if I could take a moment, because I like to call the roll. If I could take a moment and think about being planted is not punishment. And if you ask Joseph this morning, he was planted in a pit, thrown into prison, but he grew into the palace. If you ask Moses this morning, he was planted in Pharaoh's house, hidden in the basket, raised in the wilderness, but he grew into a deliverer who split the Red Sea. If you ask David this morning, he was planted in the fields, forgotten by his father, mocked by his brothers, but he grew into a giant slave. If you ask Esther this morning, she was planted in a pagan palace, forced to hide her identity, but she grew into the queen. If you ask Daniel this morning, he was planted in Babylon in captivity, thrown into a den of lions, but he grew into a man of integrity. If you ask Ruth this morning, she was planted in grief and famine, meaning leftovers, but she grew into a great grandmother of King David. If you ask Paul this morning, he was planted in prison, beaten and shipwrecked, but he grew into an apostle. If you ask Jesus this morning, he was planted in the earth, buried in a forest, wrapped in linen, left for dead. Let me tell you something, you are planted to grow. So don't mourn this morning, you're planted. You got to rejoice in the process. So if you're in the middle of your growing